Hey there. I wonder how many people still actually watch my videos. Um, I'm here at the park and I'm doing like a little impromptu video. It's been such a long time since the last time I did one. It was like, I don't know, what was that, November or something? I had started going to therapy around then. And I went through what my therapist called the honeymoon stage. Basically, I was able to get out and do a whole bunch of things, like doing the whole video downtown, going to the zoo, going to Belle Isle and all that other stuff. But since then, I've been doing a bit more stuff lately. I've kind of been backsliding a little, as I haven't really been doing much. I've been isolating, kind of sitting inside, just watching TV or being on the internet or whatever. I started going to support groups, and I did that like back in December, and that was actually an interesting experience to get myself to finally do that. I was super nervous about that. It's not like it is on TV. Like, I thought it was gonna be like the whole AA stuff where you get up, you introduce yourself, and then everyone's like, oh, my name is Steve, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Steve. That sort of thing. It's not like that. Basically, what they do is you go around the room, you kind of introduce yourself, you say why you're there, if you want to, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. And after that, it's just like open discussion, and everyone just kind of talks about their struggles and their accomplishments throughout the week, that sort of thing. I didn't think I would say much the first day because I was just so nervous, and there was like maybe 12 people, 12, 13 people. Usually there's around that many, 15 or more. Not a huge group, which is good, but yeah, I managed to open up and talk about myself a little, which was surprising. I can't remember I remember talking about buying my first Christmas tree by myself, which was pretty nerve-wracking. Going to the Home Depot and picking it out myself and having to tie it on. I couldn't tie it on the car because I just didn't trust myself. I thought for sure it would have fell off. But yeah, I put it in the trunk and was like freaking out the whole way back, but I got it home okay. And I mean, just small things like that I was able to do. But skip ahead to like what else I've been doing. I've still been going to therapy and everything. Also, besides the support group, which is for anxiety and depression, I have been going to... No, the anxiety and depression group is led by my therapist, and she actually started another one just specifically for social anxiety that started up like maybe a month and a half ago, and I've been going to that, and I like that a lot more because you get to be around people who specifically have social anxiety, and it's pretty cool to kind of hear other people's stories who are so similar to you. I had never really spoken to anyone who had the same sort of thing, and there's a lot of people that you wouldn't really expect to have it. Everyone looks so normal, which is kind of crazy because it's like you never really know who's dealing with the same issues as you until you talk to them. And it doesn't even matter what they look like. They could look like, a movie star or something and still be dealing with the same stuff as you. So that definitely put things in perspective for me to deal with that and meet people like that, like-minded people and all that. with the social anxiety group, basically what we do for the first hour is the same thing as the other support group, where you just kind of introduce yourself, tell why you're there. Then it's just crosstalk, talking about whatever's been bothering you. But afterwards, the second hour is dedicated to a social activity. And so what we've been doing for that is like board games for the most part, like these card games where it's called life stories. And basically there's a question on the card. You just pick a card and there's a question on it, and you just answer it. Sometimes it can be kind of personal, like what was the worst experience of your life? If you could be anything in the world, what would it be? There's some deep questions, and then there's some simple questions like, what's your favorite color and why? Things like that. Just like icebreaker little activities. But, uh, it's kind of nerve-wracking because I'm outside, I'm in the middle of a field, but it's like, I keep thinking someone's watching me or something. But, how much time do I have? Okay. What else? So yeah, the anxiety thing, it's been going pretty good. I like it a lot more than the other support group. I think eventually I'm just going to start going to the social anxiety group solely because it's more catered to me. And last night we did something different where the first hour was the same, but the second hour we didn't do the board games. We did like it was like this, and the only thing I can equate it to is like speed dating, where everyone gets paired up at a table and you just kind of have a conversation. And my therapist was giving us tips on how to have a conversation. Like if someone says something, like you ask a question like, where did you go to school? When did you graduate? That sort of thing. And then the person answers, and then you kind of repeat back what they say. Like if they say, oh, I went to University of Michigan and I graduated, I majored in engineering and I graduated in 92. And then you repeat that back, kind of summarize it, like, oh, so, yeah, you went to school, University of Michigan, and you graduated in 92. Oh, yeah, so, how was your experience there? Kind of summarize it and then add your own little thing there. I kind of already know how to do that, so it's just, with me, with conversations, it's hard to start to ask a question because I don't really know what to say most of the time. And the most prevalent thought for me is like, what should I say? Because I don't really know what I should be saying. And I always feel like really awkward too during conversations. But yeah, that was actually pretty fun, and it got me. It was uncomfortable at first, but it kind of got me out of my slump that I've been in lately. Got me out of my comfort zone. Actually got to talk. The first guy I talked to, he was just really cool guy. I had some stuff in common with him, like video games and comic books, and we got to talk about that. And then you have to, like, after a little while we had to change and talk to somebody else. And I'm like, no, I don't want to change, I like talking to this guy. He seems pretty alright. But other than the social anxiety thing, back in, what was it, November, I think, or December? It was somewhere around there. Or it might have been February. I think it was February. I went to another social group, but this is like a different sort of thing. It's on meetup.com. And basically this social group, they get together every few weeks and what the heck? Bug. They get together every few weeks and they and they just go out to different outings and things. And we went bowling. I'd been a part of this group for like a year, and I never went to any of the meetups, but I finally got myself to go to one of those. And I met a lot of, interesting people, talked a little bit. I made a friend there too. Um, yeah, it was pretty nice. I mean, I did leave early because I got kind of bored of bowling. It wasn't terrible. Just I'm not really into bowling much. Um, but yeah, the friend that I made there, we ended up exchanging numbers and stuff, and we actually hung out 2 weeks ago for the first time. And that was nerve-wracking to get myself to get to. It's always hard to get yourself to do something new, but once you do it and you keep consistent with it, you find that it gets easier. But battery is running low. Um, yeah. Well, my first hangout with him did not go as great as I thought it would. No, it was fun and everything in the beginning, but basically what we were doing, we met up downtown. Or we were gonna maybe go to a coffee house and just kind of decide what we were gonna do next. I told him before that I was into the urban exploring thing, like going into abandoned buildings and just kind of looking around and taking pictures, that sort of thing. And he expressed interest as well, so we decided that we were gonna do that. When we met up initially downtown, the coffee shop we were supposed to meet up at, it was closed. So we just wandered around downtown Detroit, just looking at the buildings and stuff. And finally we decided, kind of brainstormed on a place to infiltrate, explore. And I decided I didn't want to go to a factory or any of those other places because they're pretty dilapidated and kind of unsafe to be in. But we decided on a school, and so we headed over there and we walked around the school. It was an abandoned school. It had been closed for like 2 years, but there was still power on in the building. It's called Cooley High, and it's been closed since 2010. So, still in pretty good condition. I didn't think we would actually get in, but we walked around it a bit, and I tried some of the doors, because one thing that you don't want to do is break your way into any place. There's always a risk of you getting caught and, getting hit with a trespassing charge or whatever. But I usually take the risk anyway. I never think that anything like that will happen to me. But I found an open window, and I figured, it's one of those it looked like one of those school bus windows, the kind that open halfway. But when I tried it, I thought for sure it wouldn't open all the way. It did. And I was like, whoa, holy crap, this is big enough for us to get through. We can see the entire school. It's like a huge school. It's like 3 floors. And we looked it up, some of the pictures on Google, and it has like a huge auditorium and all this other stuff too. So yeah, I was really excited to get in there. And we just walked around. We looked at we looked at like pretty much every nook and cranny. The gym, no, we didn't find the gym. That was the last place we were trying to find. There was a locker room. That was the first place we went to. Then we looked in all the classrooms, most of them. We went into the main offices, the principal's office. I found a tape there, like a VHS tape, and I took it with me just to see what was on it. He found a CD. We got to the auditorium, and it was amazing. Everything looked so new still. There was like no visible dust or anything, and like I said, the power was still on, partly, so there were still lights on here. And it kind of seemed like a waste, for this huge auditorium, this whole building to just be abandoned, wasting away. I don't know if they plan to demolish it or if they're going to do something with it. But yeah, we looked around a bit more, and then he said, all right, let's just find the gym and then leave. I forgot my camera, but he had his iPhone, so he took the pictures, and I figured, hey, you can be the photographer, and you email me the pictures afterwards. How we doing on time? Gotta speed this up. But I heard banging downstairs, and I thought, I heard banging, and then I heard some yelling. I'm like, yeah, maybe we should leave, because you don't know what you're gonna run into when you go into these abandoned places. There's always a risk of running into, like, squatters, homeless people, gangs, wild rabid animals. You don't know what you're gonna run into. And I usually do these things by myself, so this was the first time I did it with someone else. So we went through all 3 floors, and then we came back down to the first to look for the gym, and then we were gonna head out. As soon as we went down to the main, back down near the main offices, where the stairwell was around, we saw these 4 guys, and they were like, hold it, get on the ground, and they were police. So apparently the cops had been called. Later I found out there was an active surveillance camera outside the building, and that was monitored off-site. And I guess they saw us going in and thought we were up to no good. But yeah, we got arrested, and the whole thing was so surreal. Like, when I was getting handcuffed, I'm thinking, oh man, I'm getting arrested. I wasn't really sinking in. It wasn't really, I was slightly scared, but I was like, it's like my anxiety got so high that it just kind of collapsed onto itself, and I got really calm and dreamlike, like, oh, I guess I'm going to jail, getting arrested. This is interesting. But yeah, that was pretty crazy. The guy who arrested me, he was just really mean. I kept trying to explain my story to him, telling him that we're just getting pictures. We're not here to do any trouble or anything. We don't have any graffiti. We're not doing that. We didn't break in, like, we didn't break any glass to get in or anything like that. But so I asked him, so this is just a trespassing charge, right? He's like, no, B&E. You hit the big leagues now. And he's all like putting the scare in us, like, oh, you're gonna go to where all these other crazy drug addicts and murderers are. B&E stands for breaking and entering. So he kept repeating that, how this is, a B&E charge. And we went outside, or they took us outside. They had a hard time getting out. That was kind of funny. Put us in the squad car. There were other cars that showed up. There were kind of people off in the distance looking, and that was really embarrassing because I could kind of see their faces. Oh, a butterfly. And they looked like they were looking at us like we were just petty common criminals. I am gonna have to do a part 2. Everyone was kind of looking at us like disdainfully. I'm glad there weren't a whole lot of people around there to be looking at us, but we were in the squad car filling out, well, we had to talk to the officers, and they had to get our information and all that stuff. Went through our wallets, our pockets, all that stuff. It was a crazy experience. Now I know you can really get in trouble for doing this stuff, but even so, I mean, I can't really say that I'm gonna stop for good. I'm not really gonna do it here in Detroit. Like, there really aren't, there's a few other places I'd like to get into here in Detroit, but one of them I can't because it's it has security and gates and stuff, and then the other one is locked. There's no way inside, so what are you gonna do? It's no big deal. But yeah, after 45 minutes in that squad car with handcuffs on and sitting in that hot car, and it's like the handcuffs, it seems like the more you struggle, the tighter they get, and they were really digging into my arm and they hurt. And you're supposed to sit in the car with your hands behind your back. That's so uncomfortable. And then the seat is like, there's no leg room. It's really like very uncomfortable. But I guess you can't expect it to be comfortable when you're arresting people. Not that I was struggling, just I kept trying to get, just kept trying to get comfortable in the handcuffs. Like, man, these things are tight. But so after that, we left out and they took us to the station, and I had these weird thoughts. Like, the first thought was it'd be funny if like the police station was right around the corner, and sure enough it was. The bad thing was that we had parked our cars. The neighborhood that the school is in is not the best, and we had parked our cars not in front of the school, but down the street in front of this pizza place, so that it was like in a more populated area, so no one would really mess with it, or it would be more deterring for someone to mess with it, and it'd be less suspicious, because if the cars were in front of the school, people might think, what's going on? Are they dealing drugs or whatever? We really live in an age of fear, which is unfortunate. Got to the station, they kind of processed us and took our mug shots, and that's when I was like, wow, this is for real. I'm really gonna be in jail for some time. I don't know how long, but I guess I'm not going to work tonight because I had to work that night. It was a Sunday. It was April 1st too, right? So I guess that was like a cosmic April Fool's joke from the universe. Yeah, when it finally hit me, I was just really, really upset. Not upset, just embarrassed, and just like I couldn't believe, I got myself in this situation, and I had been so naive, thinking I could just go into abandoned places, get pictures, and not run into any trouble. Now I know. Now when I do it again, which won't be for a while, I'll definitely be a lot more careful, and probably won't choose a place that's been closed down for a couple of years. And if it still has power, I probably shouldn't go in, because chances are it's going to have like surveillance and stuff. So I had to make my phone call, and turns out you don't get just one. You do get a phone call, but it's not like you can just make one phone call. You can make as many phone calls as you can call as many numbers as you want, but it has to be like in 10 minutes, that's how long you get. So I tried calling my mom, but she wasn't picking up, and they took everything from us and bagged it. So, I mean, I haven't memorized a whole lot of numbers. I only know my mom's and my sister's. That was the only two I knew, and my grandmother's old number, which isn't even operational anymore because she doesn't use a landline, she just uses cell phones, and I don't know that number. So yeah, I called my sister. Lucky she was home from college that weekend. So I called her and then talked to my mom, and she was crying and everything, and I was crying because I was scared, and I didn't want to go to jail because I'm not jail material. I would not survive. But yeah, it was an ordeal. We sat in a cell for maybe half an hour. Half an hour, yeah, that's about right. And then the other cops who arrested us, they left, and then there were, nicer cops who were processing us and everything. So we sat in a holding cell. We were right across from each other for, yeah, half an hour. And then this guy with a ponytail comes down, and he's like, there's no reason for you guys to be here. We know B&E guys, you guys are not, you're not criminals. You're not the people who are tearing down society, And so he said he was going to talk to his boss and get us out of here in 20 minutes. He came back. He was like, you know what, F that. We'll get you out of here in 2 minutes. And so, sure enough, he got us out in 2 minutes. We were signing like release forms. There was no charge. There was no fine, no court date, no nothing. So I don't have to worry about that. Thank goodness. 'Cause, man, with all the other bad luck I've been having, that's all I would need is like, having to pay more money for something really stupid. So that was a relief for sure to get out of that situation. And I got to keep the tape. So when I got home, I saw what was on it. And it's just like old footage from, the date was May 13th, 1996. And it showed footage of when the school was in operation and kids going in and out of the building and just like a regular day. So I guess that's like a neat souvenir or whatever. Yeah, me and my friend, we talked about it afterwards, how crazy this whole thing was. Like, we were just gonna do, next time we hung out, which we haven't done since then, we were gonna do something boring, like just go to the mall or hang out at a coffee shop or something. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest thing for me was that it hurt my pride because I always have this image of not doing wrong and not getting into trouble. I've never been into anything major, so, and I've known my family for being like a really good person and, that sort of thing. So I feel like in a way maybe my image has been tainted a bit. I don't think it has, but, in a way it just feels like it. And it's embarrassing really. But, it happened. It was weird. For the first few days I couldn't really remember the details. I guess that happens when you go through something traumatic. But yeah, that all happened. Still can't believe it myself. Me arrested. This world can be a dangerous place at times, and I just gotta stop being so naive and be careful and really think about what I'm doing. Because I'm not a child, I can't just do what I want. I can't just waltz into an abandoned place and think that there's no harm in doing that. Like I said, I always knew there were risks, and I knew that if you got caught by police, they might arrest you and you get hit with a trespassing charge, but I didn't think like be going to jail and cuffed and all. Well, yeah, cuffed, but I mean going to jail and court dates and all this other stuff. Like, man. But this is like 29 minutes. This is too much time for a video. So I know I forgot like some stuff. Every time I do a video, I forget stuff. So I'm trying to think, did anything else happen lately that I forgot to mention? Nothing else really happened. I mean, with my string of bad luck, everything started breaking down, like before the jail thing. My car brakes broke down. Turned out that the last mechanic I went to didn't do them right. So when I went to this new shop, the guy told me that whoever did it, they didn't know what they were doing. Because the back right brake had, it broke. Like there was parts missing, so it broke off when my mom was using it. It was like this really loud sound, but I got it fixed. Unfortunately, they didn't do it right because now it's squeaking, so I have to take it back. But yeah, my computer, my adapter died, and I had to spend extra money to get a new one. I actually saw someone at the Mac store though that I went to school with, and I didn't have to talk to him because you know how, like, I know a lot of you, if a lot of you have the same problem, but if you see somebody from the past, from school or something, and you start getting all anxious and stuff because you don't want to have that conversation about, so what have you been up to, and you haven't really been up to anything, and you don't really want to say that because you're going to kind of look lame. But yeah, I talked to him, and we caught up a bit. He recognized me, and that was good. But yeah, I guess not much else has been happening. Hopefully my string of bad luck is ending. Yeah, that's about it. And I guess I will try to be better at these videos because I really don't want to do one like once every 4 months. It's just hard to get back into the whole groove of things, and it's hard for me to think of stuff to say too, because I tend to run out of stuff to say, and hard to express myself, and I end up filtering everything, and just it's a little frustrating, but you know, I'll do videos when I can. I can't really make any promises that how often I'll do them. I'll just do them whenever. But that's it. Hope you enjoy my long video, and I'll see you later.